Hi, I'm Vanessa D'Souza and I'm the Autistic Chef. Welcome to the Witherslack Group's Sen Summer Cook Along with me. Today we're going to be cooking a sensory friendly recipe which is a miso butter pasta. It's a recipe that is easy and can be enjoyed by the whole family. It's adaptable for people who are sensory sensitive like me, but also those who are adventurous. Come along, let's get going. Welcome to my kitchen. Now you should have the recipe card with you and that has all of the ingredients listed. Now how I like to work is I get all of the ingredients out and have them laid out in order so that it makes it easy and I don't get overwhelmed, but do whatever works for you. Now this recipe is very adaptive. If you're sensory sensitive like me, you could just have it plain. The miso butter pasta is just gorgeous and flavoursome on its own. But if you're a little bit more adventurous, you can add in some veg, you can add in some protein. And so today I'm going to be adding in some spinach and some prawns, but feel free to substitute this however you like. Also, with the pasta, it's whatever is suitable for you and your needs. So without further ado, let's get cooking, guys. So first up, we're gonna get our pan ready. Feel free to get some assistance if you need to. Our butter. If you are vegan, you can always substitute this with good olive oil. We're then going to get some garlic. I'm using lazy garlic here, not because I'm lazy, but I am really sensory sensitive. So I have autism, I have ADHD and sensory processing disorder. And part of that means that I really struggle sometimes with the overwhelming smell of garlic. And also, it's just very time consuming. So don't feel guilty about using lazy garlic. And then we have our miso paste, which if you haven't tasted miso, it's a gorgeous umami flavour, which adds depth, but also is very, very good for gut health because it's fermented. So we're going to switch our hob on and we're going to go for a heat of medium temperature. So I'm going to do a 4 or 5, but if you have gas, get your mum or dad to help you. You're going to add your butter to your pan. We've intentionally kept the heat low here because butter burns super easily. So be very careful not to burn it. Keep stirring and it should gently melt away. If you are vegan, you can use olive oil instead. Whilst your butter's melting nicely, you want to get yourself a pan and get your hot water ready to boil your pasta or noodle of choice. Now for the fun bit, adding the flavour to the butter. So we're going to add in our garlic. Just feel free to add in as much or as little as you like. I've used a tablespoon here of lazy garlic. If you're using fresh, use about 3 cloves. If you're sensory sensitive, use less. But it tastes absolutely delicious. At this point, you should really be able to smell how fragrant that garlic butter will be. Gently stir whilst that all incorporates. And now it's going to be time to add in our miso paste. Now, miso is a gorgeous fermented soybean paste, which adds loads of salty umami flavour. So you don't need to worry about salt in this dish because all of the salt is coming naturally from that miso. Trust the process and let that incorporate in. Meanwhile, you want to add your hot boiling water to your pasta pan. This will really speed up the boiling process. Add your salt, and I add a little bit of olive oil just to make sure that the pasta doesn't stick together. So now our water's ready, it's time to cook our pasta. Now I've chosen a fresh egg pasta, but feel free to use whatever pasta you like. Some people prefer dried pasta, some people preferred sort of fusilli or shapes that they can use a fork with. Some people prefer spaghetti. It's entirely up to you. And that is the beauty of this recipe. You use whatever works for you. Some people may even prefer to use a noodle base instead. This recipe is super adaptive and works for whoever. Now, the fresh egg pasta really works if you have short attention spans like me and my ADHD because it cooks in 3 to 5 minutes. So we stick our pasta into the pan of hot water where we've already salted it. We've added some oil so it doesn't stick together, but make sure you follow your package instructions for the pasta that you're going to use. Let's get going. Add in your pasta to the pan. Be very careful and ask for assistance if needed, and let it boil away to the package instructions. Back to the miso. It should be fully incorporated now. Feel free to use a whisk if you need to, but there should be no large lumps anymore. Now, on a really sensory sensitive day, I might just want the miso butter pasta on its own. But today, I'm obviously eating for two at the moment. And I actually want to add in some protein and some vegetables. So do whatever works for you. And as I said, this recipe is super adaptive. So today I'm going to be adding to my recipe some prawns. I'm using cooked prawns here to speed up the process. But if you're using raw prawns, they cook in about 5 minutes. So I would put them in the pan at this point. Obviously, feel free to use whatever protein of choice that you prefer. So you might prefer chicken. If you're vegan, perhaps a vegan substitute like tofu, or if you prefer fish, tuna works really well in this recipe. And my green veg of choice is some organic spinach. And that we're going to add in at the very end, because as we all know, spinach, you put in the whole bag and it wilts down to absolutely nothing. Now that my pasta's cooked, I want to strain it off, but before I do so, I need to reserve a tiny bit of pasta water to emulsify that butter. Adding a little bit of pasta water to your miso butter sauce will help it become silky smooth. You just need a ladleful, and that will be enough to emulsify your sauce so that it's lovely, smooth, and sticks to your pasta beautifully. Now you want to add in your pasta and incorporate that thoroughly into your gorgeous garlic miso butter sauce. Feel free to get an adult to help you. Sometimes this can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're using a noodle or a tagliatelle or a spaghetti like I have here. Next up, add in your spinach or vegetable of choice. You can use whatever works for you. For me, I find spinach that's wilted quite sensory friendly, and then you want to add in your protein of choice. And you know, I've chosen prawns. I've chosen to be accessible here and use cooked prawns, but as I said, feel free to use whatever protein of choice you prefer. Could be cooked chicken, could be canned tuna, could be some cooked tofu. And don't forget to season. Now, you won't need any salt because the miso is quite salty naturally, but pepper I absolutely love. All that's left is to plate up and you are good to go. And that's it. Our super simple recipe that's adaptive and sensory friendly is ready. It didn't take very long. You can cook it in under 10 minutes. If you're using fresh pasta, probably even quicker. And lots of shortcuts if, like me, you struggle with timings. So shortcuts of prawns, you know, the addition of spinach, which cooks so quickly. It's delicious and I really, really hope you enjoy. If you make this recipe, we'd love to hear it. So go to the With a Slack group. They have a social media page, or you could find me on social media at the.autistic.chef, or the website is theautisticchef.com. It's been a pleasure, guys. Enjoy. Take care. Bye.